Hey guys, in today's video I'll be teaching you how to make my mini Christmas trees, and these guys are really cute. It's actually really easy to make, but tell me why it took me like a million tries. Look at all of my rough drafts of this Christmas tree. It took forever to make for some reason, but it's actually really simple. I think the only issue you guys might have might be counting the stitches because we're working with the front loop and back loop. You also need to know how to do the magic circle. I will explain everything in this video, but if you're interested in making one of these, this is made with the Cairns 1-pound yarn, and this one right here is the Red Heart Super Saver, so it looks fine with both yarns, but I do prefer the Cairns 1-pound yarn. If you watch my videos, you guys already know that. And then I also have this one here. This one is also the Red Heart Super Saver, and of course you can choose to do it in any color you like. I have my dark green, my light green, and this white here. So if you're interested in making one of these, I'll let you know what you'll need in the next couple of clips. I'll be using a 5mm crochet hook, a stitch marker, scissors, and a glue gun. I'll also be using mini pom-poms that I picked up from the Dollar Tree, and then for the top of the tree I have these little flowers. My friend actually gave me these a while ago, so I'm not sure where you can pick them up, but I think you can find something similar at the scrapbooking aisle in like Joann's or Michael's. I don't remember the name of the color of this yarn, but this is from Cairns 1-pound and it's the darker green one. Last but not least, you will need some stuffing. Round 1, we need to create a magic circle, and to do that you're just going to take your yarn and wrap it around your fingers to create this X. And then I like to take my crochet hook and insert it inside the circle, and to pick up this yarn here and pull it through. And then I'm going to take my hand where I have my hook and I hold on to this yarn, and now I'm going to yarn over and pull through. So that is a magic circle. So now we can just tighten this up. Pull on this yarn right here, not all the way, just to make the circle a little bit smaller, and now we're going to single crochet 6 times into the circle. Now we need to single crochet 6 times into the circle. So you want to take your hook and you're going into your circle, and you're going around the circle and also this yarn here, and then you're going to take your working yarn and pull it through. So now you have 2 loops on your hook. You want to yarn over and pull through both loops, so that is a single crochet. So I'll show that one more time. So I'm just going to go inside my circle. I'm taking this yarn and pulling it through. There's my 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2. So now I have to do, how much is that? Come on, basic math. So I have to do 4 more single crochets. You have 6 single crochets. You can close up your magic circle by taking this yarn and pulling on it, and that is the end of round 1. So now you can just take your stitch marker. I have my stitch marker and I'm just going to place it into this last stitch here. So usually I would slip stitch, but I stopped doing that, and now I just end my row off at my last stitch. Round 2, we're just going to do another single crochet row. These are all just going to be 1 single crochet into each stitch, which means you'll have 6 single crochets at the end of this. So I'm going to take my hook and go into my first stitch here. I'm just going to insert my hook through. I'm taking this yarn and pulling it through the stitch. I have 2 loops, yarn over and pull through both. So again, it's just a single crochet, so I'm just going to do that 5 more times. Again, let me go into the stitch here, taking this yarn, pulling it through. There's my 2 loops, yarn over and pull through both. So I'll continue doing this until I reach my stitch marker. Once I reach my stitch marker, I'm just going to take it and remove it, and then I'll do my last single crochet. I'll take my stitch marker and place it back into that last stitch, and that's the end of round 2. Round 3, we're going to increase into every stitch. So that means 2 single crochets into each stitch. This is my first one here. I'm just going to take my hook and go straight in. There's my 2 loops, yarn over and pull through both. So that was 1. I need to do 1 more into the same stitch. Now I have 2 into the first stitch. I'm going to repeat that until I end up with 12 stitches in total for round 3. So again, I'm just going into my next stitch. I'll do 1 single crochet, another single crochet into the same stitch, And let me just keep repeating that until I make it to my stitch marker. When I made it to my stitch marker, I'm just going to remove it to do my last increase, which is 2 single crochets into the same stitch. That's 1 and 2. Then I'll take my stitch marker and place it into that last stitch. Now we have 12 stitches in total for round 3. Before I get to round 4, I just wanted to mention that I have my 2 little trees here. So you can see it looks a little bit different, and that's because I decided to chain different numbers. So you can alternate your chain between a chain of 1 and 3 or 2 and 3. This one right here is a chain 1, chain 3, and this one is a chain 2, chain 3. So I'll show you what I mean once I begin round 4. So for round 4, I'm going to do the chain 2, chain 3. So what I'm going to do first is chain 2, and that is yarning over my hook and pulling through for 1, yarn over again and pull through for 2. And in this row, we're only working in the front loop only. So what that means is you can see my stitch right here. So if I look, this is going to be the back of the stitch, and this right here is the front. So what I'm going to do is take my hook and go into the front loop of the stitch, which means I'm going through the front straight into the middle, and I'm going to single crochet. So what we just did there was a chain of 2 and then single crochet into the front loop only. Now I'm going to do a chain of 3. So I'm going to yarn over, pull through, that was 1, yarn over, pull through for 2, yarn over and pull through for 3. So now I'm going to single crochet into the front loop only. Again, you can see the stitch here. This is the back, that's the front. So I'm going to go from the front into the middle. I'm going to pull this yarn through, have my 2 loops, and I'll single crochet. So I'm just going to basically repeat chaining 2 and chaining 3 and single crocheting. So I'll show that again. I'm going to chain 2, so yarn over my hook, pull through, yarn over again and pull through. This time it's a chain of 2. Now I'm going to single crochet into the front loop only. So here's my front loop. I'm going straight through the middle. There's the 2 loops. Now I'm going to yarn over and pull through for my single crochet. So again, I'm going to switch it off now to do a chain of 3. So yarn over, pull through for 1, yarn over, pull through for 2, yarn over and pulling 2 for 3. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now let me single crochet through the front loop only. There we go. And then I'm going to have my 2 loops, pull through 2, and that is a single crochet. So now you can see what it starts to look like. So I'm just going to continue doing that until I reach my stitch marker. I was testing out time-lapse in that other clip, but I don't think I'll be doing it for the rest of this video because I don't really like it. But anyways, for your last stitch, you want to take your stitch marker and you want to put it into the back loop. So don't lose your stitch, it's this last one here, and you're going to place it into the back loop only. So you're just going to go straight through the middle out to the back. So just like this, and then you want to close it up. Now to finish the last stitch, you should end off with a chain of 3. So what I'm going to do is yarn over for 1, 2, and 3, and then I'm going to single crochet into the front loop only, so you can easily see it now because we have our stitch marker here. So I'm just going to go in and do my last single crochet, and that's the end of round 4. Okay, so here comes the tricky part. We're going to be working within the back loops only for round 5, and we're just going to single crochet 12 times. So when I flip this over, you can see these little these are the back loops from when we did the front loop stitches right here. So if you're confused on where to start, all you have to do is count backwards to know where you should do your first single crochet. So we see my stitch marker is right here. So this is 1, this right here is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you can see we're not going into this stitch right here, we're actually going into this one, and when we're done in total it should have 12 single crochets into the back loop only. To begin round 5, I'm just going to take my hook and insert it into my first stitch, which is this one here. I'm just going to insert it into that back loop, and I'm going to take my hook and pull this yarn through. We have 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through both loops for a single crochet, and you just want to continue doing that until you get to your stitch marker. So I'll show that again. I'm going into the back loop of this next stitch, taking my hook through, taking this yarn, there's my 2 loops, yarn over and pull through both. So I'll do that again. I'm going into the next stitch, taking the yarn, pulling it through, 2 loops, yarning over and pulling through both. So I'll just finish doing that until I reach my stitch marker. Now that I made it to the end, I'll remove my stitch marker and crochet into that last back loop for a single crochet, and this makes it 12 stitches in total for round 5. 6, I'm just going to single crochet 12, and remember, if you get confused on where to start, all you have to do is count backwards. So where stitch marker is going to be 1, and then you go around, and I already know that my stitch that I'm going to crochet into is this one here. It's not this guy, so I'm going to go into this first stitch to do my single crochet, and that was 1, 2. Remember, we're just single crocheting this round, so I'm just going to finish it off with my 12 stitches, and then I'll be back. I made it to the end, so I'm just going to remove my stitch marker, do my last single crochet. So when we're working with this pattern, it's going to be a little bit hard to see where your stitches is. That's why you have to count for your first 2 where the leaves are. But once you make it to your 3rd round where you're doing the same number of crochets, you can see where to start next because it's easily visible. So you can see my hook is right here, and we can see that that's my first stitch for my next round. So for round 7, we're still single crocheting this whole row. So you're just going to do 12 single crochets, and then we'll be done with round 7. After you finish round 7, this is what it should look like. You can see the space right here, which is where we'll put some of the ornaments. But moving on to round 8, before we get started, you want to take your stitch marker and you want to place it into the back loop only of that last stitch you did. So just take your stitch marker and go into the middle and push it out through the back. And then just close it up, and that's just going to be easier for us when we're crocheting this round. So we're going to repeat what we did for this right here. We're just going to be working in the front loop only, and we're alternating between a chain 2 and chain 3. So first I'm going to start off with a chain of 2. So let's yarn over, pull through for 1, yarn over and pull through for 2. And then you want to single crochet into the front loop. So here's my first stitch. I'm just going to go into the front loop only, taking this yarn, pulling it through. There's my 2 loops, yarn over and pull through both. Now I'm going to chain 3. So yarn over for 1, 2, and 3. Then we're going to do the front loop only again and a single crochet. Now you just have to alternate between the chain 2 and chain 3. So I'll show that one more time. Let's yarn over for 1, yarn over for 2, single crochet into the front loop only. Now we're going to chain 3, so yarn over for 1, 2, and 3, then single crochet into the front loop only. And now I'm going to repeat this all the way through until I make it back to my stitch marker. I've made it back to the stitch marker, and as you can see, it's in this back loop right now. So I'm just going to do my last chain of 3 and single crochet into this front loop only. So this is 1, 2, and 3, and then I'm going into this front loop of the last stitch to do my last single crochet. It might be a little bit hard because the stitch marker is there, but you just push it through and do your last single crochet. And this is the end of round 8. Now for round 9, we're going to single crochet into the back loop only, and we should again end up with 12 stitches. So remember, if you're confused on where to start, just count backwards. So this is 1, this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So I know I have to single crochet into this one here, and not whatever this thing is. It's going to be this one here. So I'll just single crochet 12 into the back loop only. So I'm going to show the first couple even though it's just a single crochet, but I'm going into the stitch here to do my single crochet. So that was 1, 2, and I'll continue doing this until I reach my stitch marker. I've made it back to my stitch marker, so I'll just remove it and do my last single crochet into that back loop only. Take my stitch marker and place it back in, and that is 12 stitches in total for round, what are we on? Round 9. For round 10, we're going to do an increasing round, but I have to remind you every time if you're confused on where to start, because it gets a little bit confusing since the leaves right here. Again, you want to count from the stitch here, so where the stitch marker is 1, and then you want to count your stitches to make it 12, and then you'll know where to start. So I already know because I counted backwards. I'm going to start in this stitch right here, and I'm going to start off with an increase, which means 2 single crochets into this stitch. So I'm going to go into the stitch and do 1. That was 1 single crochet, and I'm going to do 1 more into the same stitch. So that was an increase into the first stitch, and now we're going to single crochet into the next stitch. So this is my next stitch here. I'm just going to go in for 1 single crochet. Now you have to repeat those 2 steps all the way through until you end up with 18 stitches in total in this round, and I'll of course show that one more time. So into my next stitch, what I'm going to be repeating is the increase into this stitch. So that was 1, 2 into the same stitch, and now I'm going to single crochet into the next stitch over. And again, I'll just repeat that until I get to my stitch marker, so I'll show that one more time. We're going to increase into this stitch. That was 1 and 2 single crochets into the same one, and now I'm going to single crochet into the next stitch, and now I'll just finish until I get 18 stitches. Once you make it to your last stitch, remove your stitch marker and you should end up with 1 single crochet left. So going into that last stitch, I'm just going to do my last single crochet. And then I'll place my stitch marker back in, and now I have 18 stitches in total for round 10. For round 11, it's really simple. We're just going to single crochet into each stitch, which means that for round 11, we should end up with 18 stitches in total. Once you end round 11 and you have your 18th stitch, you want to take your stitch marker and place it into the back loop only. So here's my last stitch. I'm going into the middle through the back, and I'll just close up my stitch marker, and that's the end of round 11. For round 12, we're going back to the alternating chain. So let's start off with our chain of 2. So let's yarn over and pull through for 1. Yarn over and pull through for 2, and then you're going to single crochet into the front loop only. So this whole round is going into the front loop only, and there I go into the front of this first stitch, pulling this yarn to do 1 single crochet. Now I'm going to do my chain of 3. So there's 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going into the next stitch over, and I'm doing a single crochet into the front loop only. And I'll alternate that until I get to my stitch marker. So now I'm going back to the chain of 1, 2, single crocheting into this next front loop only stitch. Now I'm going to do a chain of 3, so this is 1, 2, 3, going into my next stitch for the front loop only, and I'll repeat that until I get to my stitch marker. Now that I made it to my last stitch, which is where the stitch marker is, I'm just going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then I'm going to do my last single crochet into the front loop only of this stitch. And then that's the end of round 12. Now for round 13, we're going to single crochet into the back loop only, and we're going to single crochet 18 times. So I'm going to mention this every time we do the back loop only. If you're losing count, make sure you start from where the stitch marker is. This is 1, and then you're going backwards. So you're going to count all the way until you get to 18, and wherever that 18 is, you're going to do your first single crochet. So now, because I already know where I'm going to start, I'm just going to do my first single crochet, which is into this guy here. And that's my first single crochet. So I'm just going to single crochet 17 more times until I get to a total of 18 into the back loop only. For your last stitch, just remove your stitch marker and do your last single crochet into the back loop only. And now we have 18 stitches in total in round 13. For round 14, we're going to do an increasing round. So remember, count backwards until you get to 18 stitches, and wherever that 18 is, which is right here for me, I'm going to do an increase into the first stitch. So let's go into that first stitch and do our first single crochet, and I need to do one more into that same stitch for an increase. Now we're going to single crochet into the next 2 stitches. So this is the next 1 and 2. So let me go into the first one for 1 single crochet, and now going into the next one for another single crochet. So I have to repeat those 3 steps all the way through until I get 24 stitches in total for this round, and I will show that again. So into the stitch here, I need to start off with an increase. So this is 1 and 2 single crochets into that same stitch. Now I have to single crochet into the next 2 stitches. So here's the next 2 right here. This is my first single crochet, and now my second one into that next stitch. And I'm just going to repeat those steps all the way through until I get to 24 stitches. So I think I should just show that one more time. I'm going to go into this next stitch, and I'm going to do an increase. There's 1 and 2. Now I'm going to single crochet into these next 1, 2. So this is 1 and 2. So let me continue doing that until I reach my stitch marker. Once you make it to the end of row 14, you want to remove your stitch marker, and you should have 1 single crochet left. So I'm just going to do that here, and then I'll take my stitch marker and place it back in, and now I have 24 stitches in total in round 14. This is what our tree currently looks like, and if you like, you can just pull out the leaves a little bit if you want to adjust it. And now moving on to round 15, we're going to do a single crochet round. So this one's really easy. You just want to single crochet into each of these stitches, which means you'll still end up with 24 stitches in total in round 15. Near the end of round 15, I'm just going to remove my stitch marker and single crochet into that last stitch, and then I'm going to take my stitch marker and I'm going to place it into the back loop only. So you can see there's my last stitch. I'm just going in through the middle, out through the back, and I'll close it up. So now I have 24 stitches in total for round 15. For round 16, we're going back to working in the front loop only, and we're doing our chain 2, chain 3. So I'm going to start off with my chain 2. I'm going to yarn over, pull through for 1, yarn over and pull through for 2, and then I'm going to single crochet into the front loop only of this first stitch. Now I'm going to chain 3, so 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to single crochet into the stitch, the front loop only, remember, and then I'm going to alternate again. So let's start with our chain 2, single crochet. Now I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, going into my front loop only, and I'll just keep doing that until I reach my stitch marker. I made it back to my stitch marker, so now I'm just going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then we're going to single crochet into the front loop only of our last stitch, and that's going to be the end, if I can get this through, and that's going to be the end of round 16. For round 17, we're working into the back loops only, and we're doing a decreasing round. Remember, if you lose count, always start from your stitch marker here. This is 1, and then count this way until you get to your 24th stitch. Mine is going to be right here, and I'm going to start off with a decrease. So let me take my hook and place it back in. And to do our decrease, I'm going to go into the first stitch and take some yarn and pull it through. Now I have 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to go into the next stitch over and do the same thing. Now that I have 3 loops on the hook, I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And that's a decrease. Now you want to single crochet into the next 2 stitches. Remember, these are all back loop. So that was 1 and 2. And then now we're going to decrease. So we're working into these 2 stitches here. You want to go in, pull some yarn through. We have 2 loops on our hook. You want to go into the next stitch, pull some yarn through. We have 3 loops, yarn over and pull through all 3. So again, that's a decrease. Now we're going to single crochet into the next 1, 2 stitches. So that's 1 and 2. Now I'll show you a decrease one last time. So we're working into these 2 stitches here. Go in, pull some yarn, go into the next one, pull some more yarn. We have 3 loops, yarn over and pull through all 3. And now single crochet into the next 2 stitches and just repeat until you get to the stitch marker. Once you make it towards the end, you can just remove your stitch marker and you should have 1 single crochet left. So just single crochet, and then now we can stuff our little tree just a little bit, probably like halfway through, so we can begin our next round. For round 17, you should end up with 18 stitches in total. And now moving on to round 18, we're working into our normal stitch, so no back loop or front loop. We're just going to do a decrease into the first 2 stitches, well, these 2 stitches here. So we're going to go in, pull some yarn through. You want to go into your next stitch, pull some more yarn through. We have 3 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. And then now you want to single crochet into your next stitch, and you're just going to repeat those 2 steps. So I'll show that one more time. You want to decrease, pulling yarn through, go into your next stitch, pull some more yarn through, 3 loops, yarn over and pull through all 3, and then single crochet, then another decrease, and then single crochet. So just keep repeating that until you make it to your stitch marker, and you should end up with 12 stitches in total in this round. Once you make it towards the end, you can remove your stitch marker and do your last single crochet. And that is the end of round 18. You should have 12 stitches in total, and I'm just going to stuff this a little bit more. To end this off, I'm just going to decrease 3 times. So that's my first decrease. I'll do 2 more. So this is my second decrease. And my third. After you do your 3 decreases, you can just take some of this yarn and make sure you cut off enough so we can sew the end. Well, not sew, we're just going to close it up. You just want to cut it off. And now just take your yarn and pull it out. And then what we're going to do is take your hook. You want to go into your next stitch, so this one here, and take this yarn and just pull it through. And you want to keep doing that until you make it back to where you started. So I'll show that again. And pull your yarn through. And do that again, just pulling my yarn through. Once you make it back to the beginning, you can just pull this yarn and it should close it right up. And then now we're going to take our hook and go into another stitch. Take this yarn and pull it through. And this time don't pull it all the way. You see this loop here? You want to take this yarn and put through the loop and just tighten it that way. And then now we're going to take our excess yarn and stuff it back inside. So this is what our tree looks like once we finish closing it up, and now I'm just going to decorate it. I'll take my little pom-poms and glue everything on. To decorate my tree, I'm just going to take my hot glue gun and take all of my supplies and glue everything on. I have all of my other ones I didn't decorate yet, so I'm just going to speed through this process because you're just going to glue everything on, and that's pretty simple. Once you finish gluing everything on it, this is what your Christmas tree should look like. I kind of like the plain one a little bit more than the ones with the ornament. Also, I was thinking about adding tinsel, maybe like chaining a white and then just wrapping it all around. But I don't know, I really like the look of the plain. Then of course you can do them in different colors. I have a white one here with little white pom-poms, and then a lighter green one. This one's so cute, it reminds me of the Grinch. And then I have a white one. This one's a different pattern though. I made it a little bit bigger, but I do prefer these smaller ones than this wider tree, but you know, options. So this is the end of the Christmas tree tutorial. If you guys followed along and watched till the end, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one.